What's up everybody? It's Josiah from Forte Courses. Today I'm going to show you how to have one single Lightroom catalog synced across two computers. Let's get into it. Oh my gosh, I thought this goes without saying, but I kind of remembered that some people don't know this. We are going to be talking about Lightroom Classic, not Lightroom CC. This is very important. They work completely differently, and today we're going to be in Lightroom Classic. A few really important terms I need to share: smart previews, drive letter, and file sharing. Those are really the crux of this whole tutorial. We need to make sure that we understand what those are. What is a smart preview? Well, a smart preview is an image preview that Lightroom can create that will allow for you to edit your photos without the master image. This can get really complicated really quick, but just remember, if you want to edit your photos in Lightroom without your master photo, you need to create a smart preview before you get started. Secondly, your drive that you will be using to store your master photos needs to be a letter that never changes. If that letter ever changes, you're going to have issues with Lightroom being able to find your photos. The third one is cloud storage. Now, it doesn't really matter what provider you use, whether it's Dropbox, Google Drive, or OneDrive. You do need to have the ability to store files from the cloud locally, which, as far as I'm aware, all of them do that. Today we're going to be using Google Drive, which is my preferred provider. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, everybody, we are now in my Windows desktop machine, and I have just created a new Lightroom catalog. If you don't know how to do that, well, first off, download Lightroom Classic, and then go up to the top and hit File, New Catalog. We are going to begin importing a photo. I'm just going to do one just to kind of show how this works, but this would work for thousands of photos. So we're going to go to the import dialog here, which is how I like to do things. We're going to go to my external hard drive. Now this is very important. When I talked about the master images, my external hard drive is where the master images live. Now you don't need the external hard drive plugged in all the time if you utilize smart previews, and that's what we're going to do today. Grab your external hard drive. Mine happens to be a waterproof, rugged hard drive. I use that so I can take it with me on photo shoots and edit remotely and not worry about dropping it or getting rained on. And also, obviously, it goes without mention, please back up your photos to a second external hard drive that is exactly the same. An easy way to think about this is 2 is 1 and 1 is none. So we're going to go in here and we're going to grab our JP photo A. You will notice I have assigned it the drive letter of J. This letter cannot change. So whatever it is when you plug it in, either you change it yourself or keep it that way. This is very important. If you suddenly lose all your photos, it's probably because the drive letter has changed. I set mine as J because I don't want to have any issues with other drives. All right, so we're going to go in here and we're going to click the example folder. You're going to see a lovely picture of my dog Jackson here. And we are going to go over to our file handling and we are going to select Build Smart Previews. Okay, we can do minimal previews, that doesn't really matter. And we are going to click Add because we don't need to move these files. But if you're moving them from an SD card, obviously your process would be a little different. So we are going to build smart previews, which allows us to edit without the master photo. We're going to do minimal previews and we're going to hit import. We have a dialog saying that the one smart preview has been built, which is great. And we are going to open up our file manager here, and I am going to just show you where I have saved my catalog. This is the important part if you want to sync across multiple machines. I use Google File Stream, which works a little bit differently than Google Drive's native app, but they work the same for our purposes. So here you will see I have created a folder in Forte Courses called the Lightroom Catalog Example. So within that, I have my Lightroom catalog file, and I have all of my smart previews. You will see that these are being uploaded to the cloud as we speak. There's like a little blue icon there. To make sure that your files are syncing locally, you need to right-click and make sure that offline access is available and that it is turned on. So this means if your computer is not connected to the internet, you still have these files locally. We're going to switch over to my Mac, and I'm going to show you how this will work across multiple computers, and we're not actually going to plug in the master file hard drive. We're not going to plug in the external. We're just going to be using the cloud storage. Okay? All right, I'll see you in a second on my Mac. So instead of looking at my nose on my webcam, I decided to just go back to my DSLR to film this, but you should be able to see my screen cap now on my Macintosh. So as you can see, I have synced my files from Google Drive from my desktop to my laptop. So now, if everything works according to plan, we should be able to see that Lightroom catalog now. So let's check that out. All right, so I do see my Lightroom catalog now. Everything seems to be syncing properly. Before I go any further though, I'm just gonna double check to make sure by downloading everything. So on Mac, it's a very similar right click and hit available offline. Okay, so now our files have synced from one computer to the other, and I have not plugged in my external drive. Very important to remember that. So let's go ahead and open up our Lightroom catalog. All right, there's the picture of Jackson right there. Let's go make sure, yep, that looks great. And as you can see, I'm not getting any issues like, hey, your photo's missing. It's just saying, hey, we have a smart preview here, and we're gonna edit with that. So I can go in here and change the exposure all I want. All right, so our photo looks pretty bad right now, but as you can see, I'm able to edit this photo, and I can even export it if I want at a little bit of a lower resolution than the master file. All right guys, so that's how you run a Lightroom catalog and edit photos between two machines. It's really helpful whether you have the external drive with you or not, and it's a pretty seamless process that I have found no issues with so far.